After Guiling returned, Qianfeng first went to find the bearded president of the Star Guild and explained the place he was looking for. It was a well, an ancient well surrounded by white mist. The official name should be called the Well of Dreams, which is the training place of the dream god Lutus. As long as you can pass a certain level in it, you can get the rewards left by the dream god camp. The little monster on the Nanchuan River was able to get the mirror, which was the NPC reward after passing the first level, but the young man should have only received this reward. The rewards behind have not been taken away yet, because Qianfeng checked the guy's spiritual attributes. Even after learning Psychedelic Favor, it was only more than 400 spiritual attributes, which is not high among the current Blue Star players, not to mention in the Dreamwell. It is already a blessing to be able to pass the first level, and it is impossible to pass the second level. The higher the spiritual attribute, the deeper the level you can enter in the Well of Dreams. With my current spiritual attribute, it is no problem to enter more than 10 levels. The reward for the 10th level, according to the memory of the previous life, is a piece of ancient Godstone slab. Qianfeng explained the situation of the Well of Dreams to the bearded president of the Star Guild. It is an ancient well that will move constantly. It will only stay in the same place for no more than half an hour each time. But it is easier to find with many people. It basically appears in some remote corners of the ruins of the mountain city. As long as you look for remote corners where no one is, you are likely to find the location of the Well of Dreams. After explaining, Qianfeng also wanted to go back and make his own preparations. He first took out a teleportation stone and returned to the Evil Spirit Academy. Before he could take a ring to Sarah from Coconut Country, Qianfeng took the mythical ring and asked Wanye Weiyu to arrange it. He met the NPC One-Armed Dwarf Hammer in the official guild hideout. After consuming 2200 years of life, he reduced the level requirement of the original 30 level mythical ring to 25 level. This ring is a universal ring. After being reduced to the level requirement of 25, it provides 480 points of all attributes, 1088 points of basic physical and elemental attack power, and most importantly, a 2x weak point attack multiplier. The most important thing is that there is a special effect that allows the player who wears it to enter a long-term stealth state with a stealth level of 15. This is exactly the key equipment that allows Sarah to move freely in Coconut Country and become Ludi Hill's guide. And because of the super high attributes provided by the ring, Sarah's damage output is higher than before after losing her talent. Her talent can only double her damage at most, but this mythical ring improves her far more than just doubling it. After all, at this stage, Sarah's key attributes are only over 1,000 points. This ring directly provides 480 points of all attributes. There is also a 2x weak point attack multiplier. It can be said that the attributes of this ring are equal to 5 times that of Sarah's original ring. After accepting the official thanks, Qianfeng left the official guild. First, send the ring to the ruins of the capital of Coconut Country. That Sarah is really waiting near the teleportation array, and at this time, Sarah is simply stunned. She never expected that Shadow just went back to bring her a ring, but in a short time, he actually killed another mythical boss. Is killing boss for fun? Besides, Sarah was also a little depressed. She noticed that in the announcement of killing the mythical boss, in addition to Shadow, there was also a ghost. She really hoped that one day, her codename would appear together with Shadow. Unfortunately, this day seemed a bit far away. In short, Sarah could only listen to Qianfeng first. Let Ludi Hill eat enough in the game area of Coconut Country, and advance to the legendary and mythical boss. After returning from Coconut Country, Qianfeng went to the Twisting Way City again. He found the Devil Tamer Madman Nuke and bought some Hell Fruits. Qianfeng did not buy Hell Fruits these days during the survival challenge of the ancient god of natural disasters, which was a bit wasteful. However, Qianfeng also accumulated unprecedented license and bought an unprecedented lifespan because of this. Even after buying the Hell Fruit, there was still a full 770,000 years of life left. The pig farms developed all over the world are gradually gaining strength. As for the Hell Fruit he bought, Qianfeng didn't use it for the time being. When he had enough, he would give Osirio and the others some skills. Almost done. Next, we'll wait for the Mountain City. As news, Qianfeng let the Abyss Puppet enter the Abyss World in the game ruins of Niu Yao City and began to spawn the Abyss World monsters in Niu Yao City, North America. The monsters here are all North American strongmen in previous reincarnations. Of course, there are also weak ones. As long as they are scattered in the wilderness outside the ruins of the main city, they are all killed one by Qianfeng, and Qianfeng spawned a level 45 undead skeleton monster in a cemetery near Niu Yao City. It is said to be near, but it is actually more than 1,000 kilometers away from the ruins of Niu Yao City. But for the moment, for Qianfeng, this distance is quite close. After all, he just got the Lone Wolf Operation order from the Ghost. The speed doubling effect of this order requires a team to be formed alone and there are enemies nearby to take effect. It seems a bit unsuitable for traveling, but Qianfeng directly caught the president of the White Bull Altar Guild. Queen K, he held her with one hand and kept her by his side all the time. In this case, Qin Feng's fastest flying speed directly soared to 20 times the speed of sound, which is nearly 7 kilometers per second. If it were on the Blue Star in the past, this speed would have been close to the first cosmic speed, and any faster would have allowed it to fly directly out of the planet. But after the godforsaken game came and the desolation spread, the Blue Star had already fallen into a gray abyss, and no one knew what was outside the planet. So, Qin Feng flew to the large cemetery monster spawning area more than 1,000 kilometers away in just 3 minutes. Queen K was carried by Qin Feng like a chicken, and was thrown aside when she arrived at the place. She was already crying without tears because the monsters here were all level 45, and there were often small bosses out. Even Queen K, the top powerhouse in Twisting Waste City, can hardly survive in this place. But watching the undead skeleton monsters fall to the ground in the cemetery, she felt creepy. The shadow monster spawning was too exaggerated. Not only was the monster spawning extremely fast, but there was no movement or special effects, and the monsters were hunted silently. Just after Qin Feng had been spawning here for an hour and a half, the bearded president in the mountain city finally brought good news. The Well of Dreams was found. After learning that the Well of Dreams was found there, Qin Feng immediately took action. He took out the teleportation stone and teleported to the preset resurrection point, Twisting Waste City Teleportation Array. Then went to the guild hideout at the White Bull altar and found the Demon Tamer Madman Nuke again, directly with the lowest price. He got an effect that increased the duration of all buffs by 5 times and shortened the duration of all negative states by 80%. This was the first preparation Qin Feng made for the Well of Dreams. Then, Qin Feng teleported back to the Evil Spirit Academy, found the Lightning Fairy Sister Yuan. Sister Yuan? Come one. Qin Feng found her and stretched out his evil hand towards the black-robed fairy. Take it. A series of question marks appeared in the Fairy Yuan's lavender eyes. At the same time, she heard the system prompt. Her all attributes were temporarily stolen by Qin Feng by 10,000 points, and the duration reached 50 minutes. Thief. Fairy Yuan curled her lips. Thanks. Sister Yuan. Qin Feng was satisfied and left the fairy room, refreshed. Originally, the gain of Take It could only last for 10 minutes, but with the 5-fold duration of the Demon Maniac Nuke, this gain can last for 50 minutes. 50 minutes. It can be said to be very durable. The current upper limit of the stolen attribute of the Robber Master is 10,000 points. Qin Feng had learned this when he was tested by the skeleton god general and the great swordsman Tarrogate. At this time, Qin Feng stole 10,000 points of all attributes from the Fairy Yuan, which still made him a little shocked. This means the 4-dimensional attribute of the Fairy Yuan is more than 50,000 points. You know, Qin Feng is very abnormal now. And the 4-dimensional attribute is only 20,000 or 30,000. Being able to exceed 50,000 means that the opponent's level must be far beyond Qin Feng's imagination, just like that. With the 50-minute Take It buff, and some auxiliary professions that Qin Feng asked the official in advance, combined with several magic potions that improve spiritual attributes, when Qin Feng came to the ruins of the mountain city, his spiritual attribute had reached a terrifying 34,898 points. In terms of spiritual attributes, this can be said to be Qin Feng's unprecedented peak state. After arriving in the mountain city, Qin Feng learned that the little monster by the South River had been controlled by the mountain city officials. The young man's thoughts were a bit dangerous, and he took the initiative to activate the mythical boss, causing the death of 5 people. So he would definitely not be easily forgiven, but because Qin Feng had to deal with that guy, the official would deal with the young man until Qin Feng and him completed the deal. Qin Feng was naturally indifferent to these. He went to the Dreamwell to get the tools to repair the mirror, just by the way. Anyway, that thing is useless to Qin Feng, so just throw it to that guy. As for how to deal with that guy later, it has nothing to do with Qin Feng. Let's go! Since there is a time limit for the duration of the buff, Qin Feng did not waste time. After arriving at the mountain city, he went straight to the coordinates sent by the bearded president. The dream, well surrounded by white mist, is currently located in an inconspicuous basement in the ruins of the mountain city. When Qin Feng came here, he found that the bearded president of the Star Guild was guarding here with people. Thanks, buddy. Time is limited. I will go down the well first. Qin Feng did not waste much time with the other party, and went directly into the basement. Seeing an ancient well surrounded by white mist, he jumped down from the well on the spot. I'm going in now. The bearded man and others guarding the door were a little confused. President, we haven't told Shadow yet. This well seems to have some problems. I heard that someone's friend went into this well and never came out again, but the well mouth is not in this position. Could Shadow go in and never come out again? Don't talk nonsense. They specifically asked to find this well. They must know about this well. Let's not get involved. The white mist was thick. A scene like a fairyland appeared in front of Qin Feng when he jumped down the ancient well. what appeared in front of him was not a narrow well, but a beautiful place with mountains and clear waters. Pavilions, terraces, and pavilions are all available. It's a bit like the inner field of the scroll space of the previous Ghost Scroll, but Qin Feng knew this place is the real source. After all, the mythical boss, Guiling Painting, completely relies on a dreamstone to exist, and this dream well is the birthplace of the dreamstone. In this place, Qin Feng might be able to obtain a lot of dreamstones. Qin Feng did not waste time. After arriving at this place, he quickly used his shadow to sense the whole surroundings. Qin Feng did not miss any corner. After just a few seconds, Qin Feng found a door embedded in the mountain wall. Here is the first level of the Well of Dreams. I have already felt a slight illusion. The reason why he could feel it was because Qin Feng's psychedelic favor effect was triggered, and he entered a state of immunity to negative mental effects within 30 seconds. This shows that there is a force that has been affecting people's perception since entering here. The first level is a visual illusion in the misty clouds. It is difficult to find the door with the naked eye. If the mental attribute is too low, you will get lost in this place, and you will not be able to find any way out, and you will be trapped here. For example, Qin Feng saw 2 players' bodies in the corner of this place, which were already like mummies. The players trapped here could not escape their consciousness and eventually died here completely. It's not bad for the little monster on the Nanchuan River to pass the first test and get the mirror. Qin Feng didn't think much about it. With the perception of the shadow, he would not be affected by any visual illusions. Passed the first level easily. When he pushed open the door on the mountain wall, he entered the second level of the Well of Dreams. The second level will have auditory hallucinations. It is also ineffective for Qin Feng. The same scene, but all kinds of confusing sounds came from all directions, making people unable to tell the direction. Only Qin Feng, with the perception of the shadow, easily found the level leading to the third level again. And on this second level, Qin Feng found a medicine bottle and a pink handkerchief. There were 2 pills in the medicine bottle, one blue and one red. As for the pink handkerchief, it was the tool to repair the mirror on the first level. Qin Feng put the things away. Blue pill, red pill. Qin Feng wanted to laugh. The descriptions of these 2 pills are very funny. The blue pill says that it can temporarily double the spiritual attribute, and the red pill says that it can instantly restore a person's health. In short, everything in this place is not normal, and Qin Feng will not use it easily. But since it is something found here, take it with you first. Maybe it will come in handy later. Continue to go down. The 3rd floor, the 4th floor, the 5th floor. Qin Feng can feel that the spiritual attribute required by each floor in this dream well is higher than the previous one. The first floor has 500 spiritual points, but it is extremely difficult to reach the second floor without 1,000 spiritual points. The 3rd floor requires about 1,500 spiritual points. The 4th floor is about 2,000 points, and so on. When Qin Feng searched layer by layer, he found a lot of epic and legendary equipment, but they were of no use to Qin Feng. In addition, there were some dream fragments. Every 100 dream fragments can be synthesized into a dreamstone, and the more of this thing, the better. Soon, when Qin Feng arrived at the 10th floor of the Well of Dreams, he found that as long as he had 5 points of spirit, he could almost resist the various illusions on the 10th floor. And here, Qin Feng encountered a group of 6 monsters guarding an ancient godstone tablet. Finally here, Qin Feng now has 5 ancient god slates on him. The one that appeared in front of him would be his 6th ancient god slate, and it would be the 2nd slate of the dream goddess Ludus. The last slate of the dream goddess was a blessing slate. I hope this time there will be a cursed slate. The additional attributes of the ancient god slate must be higher than the cursed slate. Although there are negative effects, as long as you brush a negative effect with no negative impact, the benefits will be much higher than the blessing slate. Of course, this difficulty will be much higher than brushing the blessing slate. The 6 monster bosses that appeared in front of Qin Feng at this time were all diamond level bosses, but Qin Feng felt there was an illusion trying to affect him. According to the system prompt, he was immune to a certain visual and perceptual illusion, which was about rendering the monster boss into 6 platinum level bosses. In other words, if I am not immune to illusions, I will see 6 platinum level bosses. Qin Feng was a little speechless. This had no effect on him at all. No matter if it was platinum or diamond, he could kill them in one blow, but it was different for other players. 6 platinum bosses were easy to single out for players who could reach here. But if you underestimate these 6 bosses, then the players who broke into this place would definitely be in danger. Qin Feng ignored all that, raised his hand and used the Shadow of Severity, and with the help of 5 shadow clones. A total of 6 shadow blades flew up directly, instantly killed the 6 monsters. However, after Qin Feng killed the monster in seconds, he did not rush forward, but observed carefully, because the monsters around the ancient Godstone tablet often have some special abilities, such as symbiosis and resurrection. If you underestimate these monster bosses, you will definitely pay a heavy price. For example, Qin Xiaoyou, who was in the previous life, did not listen to Qin Feng's advice and rashly went to take away the ancient Godstone tablet. As a result, she was swept into the liquid transformed from the body of the boss. After she died and resurrected, she blamed Qin Feng for not stopping her. Fortunately, all this is over. Qin Feng carefully observed the bodies of the 6 bosses and keenly noticed that something was wrong because his greedy eyes could not work on the bodies of these 6 bosses. That is to say, these 6 monsters are not in the real corpse state. Qin Feng quickly made a guess. As expected, only 3 seconds later, the 6 beast-like monster boss bodies suddenly merged together and formed a tall humanoid boss. Oh my god, these are really long legs? Qin Feng was shocked after taking a look. The legs of the humanoid boss were actually 2 meters long, but the body was very short, which looked very strange. There was also a pair of arms that were also 2 meters long, hanging down to the middle of the thighs. Facts have proved that people are not necessarily more beautiful with longer legs. Although the fused boss in front of him may not be a human, Qin Feng didn't have time to think about it. When the boss was fused, it seemed that it wanted to resist, but the empty environment around it made the boss stunned. Both Qin Feng and his shadow clone were in a super high level of stealth. In fact, if the stealth level was high, it would really not be hidden from the opponent. But the key, Qin Feng also has the soul stealth skill. This makes it impossible for the opponent to detect Qin Feng's existence. These 6 monster bosses, when combined, are still diamond level bosses and have not been upgraded to epic level. That's good. The evolution points provided by 6 diamond bosses are more than 1 epic level boss. When Qin Feng was about to kill this guy again, he found an interesting phenomenon. His shadow perception told him that this boss fusion was in front of his left, but his eyes told him that this boss was in front of his right, completely opposite directions. Is it a visual illusion? It should not be an illusion. But the simplest light and shadow refraction, Qin Feng narrowed his eyes. If it was an illusion, all the players who could get here would be alert. But at this moment, Qin Feng did not feel the effect of any mental skills at all. If it were other players, they would definitely be confused. Once the attack revealed a flaw, the outcome would be imaginable. Fortunately, Qin Feng was not affected. When Qin Feng figured out this guy's trick, he immediately took action, and together with the 5 shadow clones, each of them threw out a shadow blade. There was no movement, no sound, not even any light or shadow. The 6-in-1 diamond level boss was hit by the invisible shadow blade again in various weaknesses. What head? Eyes. Navel? Heart. All these are the weaknesses of this guy. After all, it is a fusion of 6 beasts and monsters, so it is reasonable to have 6 weaknesses. As for where the other 2 weaknesses are, of course, 1 in front and 1 behind. Done. As Qin Feng made his move, the 6-in-1 boss had no room to react and was killed instantly without any signs. The second time he was killed instantly, the boss battle was finally over. In the space of the 10th floor of the Dreamwell, the misty white mist slowly dissipated, and as Qin Feng glanced over the body of the 6-in-1 monster with long legs exploded on the spot, this harvest is not bad. 6 diamond bosses, each with a basic evolution point of 200 points, a total of 200 evolution points. After the bonus of the Eye of Greed, the final amount is more than 36,000 points. This benefit is equivalent to 2 epic bosses, or a legendary boss, or half a mythical boss. It's already quite good. If it were in the outside world, it would be impossible for 6 diamond bosses to gather together, in the current Blue Star civilization. Even in Daxia, it is rare to be able to kill a diamond boss alone. As for being able to kill 6 diamond bosses at the same time, even ghosts may not be able to do it. Especially in this environment affected by various illusions, ghosts have to be sent. After all, ghosts cannot kill diamond bosses instantly. In this case, once the boss reacts, various mechanisms will come out, and the concept will be completely different. So, damage still represents everything. In front of Qin Feng, even the mythical boss can't withstand a blow. So what are these diamond level ones? Congratulations on obtaining the Cursed Slate of the Dream Goddess. Cursed Slate of the Dream Goddess. This slate contains the curse power from the Dream Goddess Ludus. Got it. Qin Feng was delighted and opened his equipment bar on the spot, intending to add the curse from the Dream Goddess to his equipment. After all, I am in the process of challenging, and I can become stronger as much as I can. With this mentality, Qin Feng began to choose cursed equipment. Qin Feng first counted the effects of the ancient god slates on his body. The cursed slate of natural disaster and ancient god Utos, attached to White Bud Blade, has the effect of increasing the weapon's upper level affix by 8%, but loses 2% of divinity per second. The cursed slate of Goddess of Extreme Love Elena's, attached to Ascension Machine, increases the global inviolability affixed by 114%, but invalidates one of the basic attributes of the Ascension Machine. All attributes, plus 400. The Cursed Slate of Death Goddess Night Lotus. Attached to Blade of Judgment. The effect is to increase the assassin skill level by 12 levels, and the negative effect is to reduce the total physical value by 15%. The Blessed Slate of Blade of Blood Ancient God Alex. Attached to the necklace, Night Lotus Curse Death Crusher. The effect is to increase the movement speed, attack speed, and skill release speed by 27%. Finally, there is the Blessing Slate of the Dream Goddess Lutus. Attached to the ring Bone Power. 24% of the upper resistance of the Bone Power is converted into the corresponding upper affix. 200 points of instant death resistance. Converted to obtain 48 points of instant death affix. The new curse slate, use it on the helmet. Qinfeng's current head armor is the 9-sided helmet of the ancient god of natural disasters, Utos. This equipment should be useful for a long time, so Qinfeng took action directly. You have added Ludus's curse to the 9-sided helmet of the ancient god of natural disasters, Utos. Curse of Ludus. Benefit affix. The basic attributes of the equipment are increased by 427%. Negative affix. All special effects of this equipment cannot be used effective. Do you want to keep this curse? But Qinfeng saw it and was stunned immediately. This buff affix is explosive. Basic attributes increased by 427%. Wearing one helmet is equivalent to wearing 5? Unfortunately, this negative affix is a bit uncomfortable. The 9-sided helmet of the ancient god of natural disasters, Utos, has 2 special effects. One ordinary special effect passively obtains immunity to 1 elemental damage. One divine special effect, after being turned on, is immune to any elemental damage and is not affected by the upper affix. This is too abnormal. Qinfeng was a little entangled. In this case, Qinfeng can only judge based on the basic attributes of this equipment. Physical defense, +9. All element resistance, +1480. Hit correction, +960%. All attributes, +48. Skill range, +9%. This basic attribute seems to take off if you keep this curse. Physical defense and elemental resistance are not mentioned for the time being, but hit correction and skill range are both attributes that are not so easy to obtain. Once the curse is retained, Qinfeng calculated that the hit correction will be increased to 559, 2%, and the skill range will be increased to 11, 43%. Done. Although the special effect is lost, my skill range will be very abnormal, equivalent to more than 10 times the original range. Shadowblade's ejection range is 20 meters at level 14, and each level increases by 1 meter. The current level is 40 plus 7 plus 12 for a total of 59 levels. So there is a basic ejection range of 65 meters. Of course, Qinfeng also originally had a skill range entry, so the ejection range is 2 meters. This ejection range is already very abnormal. But if Qinfeng keeps this curse effect from the Dream Goddess Lutus, then the ejection range of Shadowblade will be increased to 9 or 10, 26 meters. Of course, the most terrifying thing is Qinfeng's ability of the Frost Elf from the ancient god of natural disasters, Ice Disaster. Originally, it consumed all the divinity, and the range was 1381 meters, but with this Dream Curse, the range of this ability will be 19,339 meters, nearly 20 kilometers, all frozen. Who can refuse such a temptation? And the price Qinfeng needs to pay is that the elemental immunity special effect from the ancient god of natural disasters cannot be used ineffective. However, Qinfeng has plenty of means to save his life. This range expansion effect is unique, and it will be difficult to refresh it. If you miss it, keep it. Qinfeng chose to keep it without hesitation. So far, his skill range attribute has reached 1400%. This is something he dared not think about in his previous life. You know, the original attribute of the 9-sided helmet of the ancient god of natural disasters, Utos, is very top-notch, and now it has been increased by more than 4 times. How can it be? Although the negative is a bit fatal, it is definitely worth it. After all, in addition to the skill range, there are other benefits in terms of physical defense and elemental resistance, because Qinfeng's basic attributes are too high, and it seems a bit dispensable. But there are 2 other attribute enhancement effects that are also very obvious. One is the overall attribute, which increased from 486 points to 561. After taking into account the bonuses from all aspects, Qinfeng calculated that his agility finally increased by more than 3,300 points, which is equivalent to the increase in agility, strength, and spirit. As for the physique, it increased by more than 9,900. After all, Qinfeng has 3 layers of death praise gift that provides a 300% increase in physique. Another one is the hit correction. When Qinfeng chose to keep the curse, Qinfeng tried to open the Eye of Destiny of the Deathwing Angel bloodline once, and found that his hit correction increased from the original 573, 5 times to 1237, 6 times. The hit doubled. The attributes also increased a lot. The most important thing is that the range of this skill is directly invincible. Qin Feng was a little surprised. This made him eager to try, and he wanted to select some range skills from the skills devoured by the Soul Devourer. Who said assassins don't have large range skills? Qin Feng didn't need to use them originally, but now, even if he doesn't need them, he can still use them for fun. Compared with the infinite ejection of Shadow Blade, large range skills are obviously more efficient in killing monsters, but we'll have to wait and see. Now this Dreamwell can still go to the lower level. After dealing with this Dreamwell, Qin Feng planned to go to deal with the second world spine. He easily found the door to the next level in this space, and then stepped in. Dreamwell, the 11th level, when Qin Feng just got down to this level. He found that there was no ground here. It was a completely empty space scene. Around Qin Feng, 10 starry sky gates appeared that could not be seen at a glance. Each of these starry sky gates is extremely magnificent and seems to be very close to Qin Feng, but Qin Feng used his Umbra perception to feel it and found that these starry sky gates did not exist in his Umbra perception range at all. What the hell? Are they all illusions? Or is it because the distance is too far? Qin Feng was confused. He had never been to this place. Because in the previous life, the most news he got was to the 10th floor of the Well of Dreams. You know, Qin Feng's Umbra perception range has now reached nearly 1,000 kilometers after the skill range has been increased. Such a large range of perception has far exceeded my control ability. Qin Feng's scalp was numb. Even with his current spiritual attributes, it is impossible to process all the information in such a large range at the same time. But at this moment, the space where Qin Feng is empty. In this case, how far are the 10 starry sky gates that Qin Feng saw with his naked eyes? Moreover, at such a great distance, Qin Feng could not see the top and bottom of the gates, as if they were growing in this dark space. It can be seen how huge the 10 starry sky gates are. Just as Qin Feng was shocked, he suddenly saw that some marks suddenly appeared on the 10 starry sky gates. All of them were digital characters in the ancient language of the gods. 11, 12, 13, all the way to 20. It means that through these gates, you can directly reach the corresponding level of the Dreamwell, at most 20 levels. Immediately afterwards, Qin Feng also heard the system prompt. He only has one chance to choose. The deeper the challenge, the higher the difficulty, and the richer the reward. Of course, when choosing which level to challenge, you must also consider the consequences of failure. Fortunately, the system prompts then also include the consequences of failure. If the challenge fails, all the gains in the Dreamwell will be taken back, and you will not be able to join the Dream Temple in the future. If you don't want to challenge, you can just leave. Qin Feng thought about it, and the consequences didn't seem unbearable. His current gains from the Dreamwell only add up to some epic and legendary equipment, at most a piece of ancient Godstone tablet. Even if it is taken back, the loss is completely acceptable. But once successful, how rich will the rewards be? It's hard to estimate. As for not being able to join the Dream Temple after failure, as the heir to the power of judgment, does Qin Feng still need to join the Dream Temple? A small bet for a big win? Exciting. Qin Feng smiled. Isn't this a big deal? Is it worthy of myself? So, he did not hesitate to fly towards the direction of the starry sky gate with the 20th floor written on it. Spread his wings and flew over. Just then, a burst of icy light flashed on Qin Feng's body and gathered into an ice blue light ball on his left shoulder. It was the elf under the throne of the ancient god of natural disasters who became his follower. Hein Feng Named this frost elf. Ling Che and the other party seemed to like it quite a lot. Speaking of which, this frost elf Ling Che has never said anything to Qin Feng since he came out. He is really very cold. I didn't expect that he would suddenly run out at this occasion. Shadow. Are you going to challenge the 20th floor of the Well of Dreams? Ling Che's somewhat cold voice came out. This challenge is very difficult, especially since you are an assassin and your spiritual attributes are not your strong point. Do I need to explain some information to you? This surprised Qin Feng a little. Do you know this place? Since there are people around who know about this place, it is natural to ask first. In fact, before setting off, Qin Feng also asked Big Eyes about the situation of the Well of Dreams, but Big Eyes was restricted and could not reveal relevant information. Never expected! There are experts around Qin Feng. Frost Elf, Ling Che directly noticed where Qin Feng was and knew some information about this place. In fact, Qin Feng still has Bai Ya in his hand, but Bai Ya is different from Frost Elf. After the woman was turned into a dagger, it was difficult for her to perceive the surrounding environment. Although she could check the soul, her environmental perception ability was very weak. Now she probably doesn't know where Qin Feng is. She only knows that Qin Feng has just killed several diamond level boss. And Ling Che is a follower after all. Of course, he can follow Qin Feng and feel any situation around him. So, according to Ling Che's explanation, Qin Feng quickly understood the situation here. It turns out that there are entry restrictions for the 11th to 20th floors. You can enter the 11th floor at will For the 12th floor, the challenger's civilization must have reincarnated for no more than 9 years. For the 13th floor, the challenger's civilization must have reincarnated for no more than 8 years, and so on. For the 20th floor, the challenger's civilization must have reincarnated for no more than 1 year. If you come here in the second year of reincarnation, you can only challenge the 19th floor at most, and you cannot enter the 20th floor. The test for the challenger on the 20th floor is also very demanding. The most basic requirement is the spiritual attribute value determined by the level. If the spiritual attribute is too low, then it is impossible to succeed in the challenge. At this time, Ling Che's cold voice continued to come out. According to the information I know, it can be calculated that you are currently level 40, so the minimum spiritual attribute for challenging the 20th floor is 80,000 points. If the spiritual attribute is lower than 80,000, you can't even reach the threshold. Do you still want to challenge the 20th floor? 80,000 points of spirit. This shocked Qinfeng a little. Only players who have been reincarnated for 1 year can challenge the Starry Sky Gate on the 20th floor, whose spirit can reach this value. Not to mention that Qinfeng, an assassin, can't reach it. Even Qinfeng's agility attribute has not reached this number, but Qinfeng thought about it and asked a question. If there is resistance to the effects of spiritual skills, can this threshold be lowered? The cold blue light flickered. It can be lowered accordingly? That's fine, Qinfeng smiled. It's a rare opportunity to come here, and this 20th floor must be challenged. Otherwise, how can I be willing? Qinfeng can get the first place in the reincarnation. Challenges of other ancient god tombs first. It is reasonable to pass the challenge of the Dreamwell directly at the highest difficulty, right? The key is that after Ling Che's explanation, Qinfeng knew that he had completely exceeded the threshold for challenging the 20th floor. My spirit is now balanced by agility. A total of more than 25,000 points. Unfortunately, too much time has passed, and the 10,000 spirits borrowed from Sister Yuan have expired, but the skill of Psychedelic Favor can increase my temporary spirit attribute by 50% when I'm affected by spirit skills. This effect has no cooldown time. As long as it is affected by spirit skills, it can always exist. It is equivalent to me having 37,500 spirit points. The most important thing is, plus the 270% increase in spirit resistance, it is equivalent to 138,000 spirit attributes. Of course, Ling Che was just talking about the threshold. If you want to pass the challenge, the more spirit you have, the better. And Qinfeng has another way. He opened his equipment bar and replaced all the equipment on his body that did not have the agility attribute with a set. Fortunately, I prepared a set of equipment that mainly increases agility in advance. After putting on these equipment, Qinfeng's combat power was weakened a lot, especially the output damage was reduced by at least 1/3, and he lost a lot of special effects. But Qinfeng's basic agility attribute was directly increased by nearly 5,000 points, counting various bonuses. Qinfeng's agility increased from 25,000 to 33, but an increase of more than 8,000. Then, agility was balanced to spirit, so that the spirit attribute also reached 33,000. In the end, Qinfeng's spirit resistance was equivalent to a player with 182,100 spirit attributes. By the way, the challenge requirements set by this dream god are really abnormal. Level 40 requires 80,000 spirits. So what is the requirement for level 100? Qinfeng was a little curious. So he asked Ling Che, curious, if the challenger's level is 100, what is the threshold for challenging the 20th floor? Ling Che said coldly, according to the formula, the required spirit value is 500. Badan, 500. Zeldan attributes? Qinfeng was convinced. That's nearly 3 times stronger than he is now. Of course, to put it another way, he is only at level 40 now and has reached more than 1/3 of the level 100 challenge requirements, which seems to be very abnormal. After all, the equipment attribute improvement rate in the later stage will be more than that in the early stage, Ling Che continued. In fact, this question is meaningless, because no one can reach level 100 within a year, Qinfeng thought. Yes, only players who have been reincarnated for 1 year can enter the Starry Sky Gate on the 20th floor. This alone has stopped too many players. Then what is the reward for this challenge? Qinfeng asked again. Qinfeng was just asking casually, not planning to get an answer. After all, Ling Che also said that it only knew part of the information here. Not all of it, but unexpectedly, Ling Che really answered him. If you can pass the challenge, you can get a servant seal of the dream god, or it can be called small authority. However, shadow. You must have inherited the authority of an ancient god. If you get the servant seal of another ancient god, the servant seal will be absorbed and assimilated. After absorption, the servant seal retains the authority effect and removes the restrictive conditions. Of course, after absorbing the servant seal from an ancient god, you will not be able to join the temple of the ancient god, but you can obtain the VIP status of the temple. There is this thing King Feng had never thought of these words. This frost elf knows a lot of things. The most important thing is, it really knows how to speak. It is not a riddler at all. King Feng sighed and said, "Alas, I like you so much." Ling Che was a little alert. "You are a human. I am an elf. Humans cannot like elves." King Feng? "Okay," King Feng added. "Then change like to appreciation." "Is that okay?" Ling Che was satisfied. "Yeah." Speaking of which, King Feng really didn't expect that after he first had the real power of judgment, he would obtain the small power of other ancient gods, and the effect would be like this. It can directly absorb the small power, retain the effect, and remove the restrictive conditions. The real name of the small power is Ancient God Servant Seal. It's hard to say what the specific restrictive conditions are, but it's definitely not a good thing. This situation made King Feng feel relieved, and I didn't expect that the 20th floor of the Dreamwell would actually have the small power of the Dream God. It was a bit unexpected, but it made sense. It's too reasonable to give a small power to this difficult challenge. Even King Feng felt that even a small authority was not enough. Sure enough, Ling Che said, "In fact, as long as you pass the challenge starting from the 16th floor, you can get the small authority of the fantasy god, but I don't know what extra things you will get on the 20th floor." "Okay, I know." King Feng nodded, then accelerated and flapped his wings to fly to the Starry Sky Gate on the 20th floor. This made Ling Che a little speechless. "Shadow, do you still want to go to the 20th floor? If you want a small authority, just go to the 16th floor. The success rate is higher. Otherwise, if you fail, you will get nothing." King Feng: "It's okay. Anyway, there is not much loss if you fail. Have you ever heard a saying, small wins, big, exciting?" Ling Che. The frost elf did not persuade King Feng again, but it can be seen that it did not hold much hope for King Feng to challenge the 20th floor. King Feng did not care. Although Ling Che was King Feng's follower, he naturally could not see through his specific attributes. King Feng just changed a set of attribute equipment. The spiritual attribute plus the spiritual skill resistance has reached a considerable strength. This Dreamwell is not the ancient god's tomb opened by 3 runes, so there is no reincarnation gain, and there is no full civilization ranking, but you can get rewards by challenging. This is the basic mode of any game. King Feng flew quickly in the starry sky, but after flying for more than 10 minutes, he didn't feel close to the gate, and the shadow perception didn't feel any existence. This is too far. Could it be that I am already in an illusion? King Feng couldn't help but doubt. But fortunately, Ling Che said that this place is just far away, especially the Starry Sky Gate on the 20th floor. The distance is even farther, and it can be regarded as an invisible threshold if the player is too slow. It will take several days to fly to the Starry Sky Gate. Fortunately, King Feng is now very fast. Although there were no enemies nearby, and the speed doubling orders sent by the ghost could not be triggered, the basic speed was far higher than that of ordinary players. You know, this Dreamwell mainly tests the player's spiritual attributes, and those with high spiritual attributes are basically magic professions. The agility and speed of magic professions cannot be compared with assassins, let alone compared with King Feng, so it originally took people several days to fly, but King Feng flew there in just over 3 hours. It must be said that this set of high agility equipment is really fast. King Feng's current fastest flying speed directly reached 482 meters per second, more than twice the speed of sound than before, which is the effect of higher agility, but in terms of combat power, it is not as good as King Feng's conventional equipment. Just the lack of divine rules can allow King Feng to deal with many situations. At this moment, the death wings behind King Feng brought him close to the Starry Sky Gate. Of course, at this moment, King Feng could not see anything else, whether he looked up or down, left or right. In front of him, there was only the Starry Sky Gate. In more than 3 hours, I flew at least 40 golden kilometers, which is equivalent to 1/10 of the distance from the blue star to the moon. King Feng couldn't help but sigh. Who would have thought that there would be such a vast space inside the small Dreamwell? And when King Feng came to the Starry Sky Gate, a series of ancient god language characters appeared on the star blue gate. If there were other players who had been reincarnated for less than a year, they would not understand it at all. However, this is also one of the invisible thresholds. King Feng checked those ancient god language characters and found that they were some data statistics. The challengers who have participated in the 20th level challenge are more than 47 million, but the number of challengers who have successfully passed the challenge is 0. More than 40 million people have participated. King Feng was shocked, but he thought about it and it was normal. Those who can enter this door only need to pass the first 10 levels of the Well of Dreams. To enter the 20th level challenge, you don't need to pass the 11th to 19th levels, but can enter directly, although there is a threshold for spiritual attributes. It is not a hard threshold. There is only one hard threshold to enter this door challenge, that is, the civilization cycle has not exceeded 1 year. In other words, Among the countless civilizations in the universe, a total of more than 40 million people entered here when the civilization cycle did not exceed 1 year, and these more than 40 million people entered the 20th level challenge, without exception, all failed. And on the Starry Sky Gate, there's another rule that makes Qin Feng excited. If anyone can pass the 20th level challenge, he will get all the rewards that were taken back by these more than 40 million people due to failure. This is an unprecedented huge fortune. Qin Feng was completely shocked. Of course, there are several lines of notes under this reward rule. Qin Feng read them one by one. The first rule is that in this huge wealth pool, only the ordinary rewards obtained between the 1st and 10th levels of the Well of Dreams are included. What are ordinary rewards? First of all, the Mirror Ghost on the 1st level does not count. And secondly, the Ancient Godstone Tablet on the 10th level does not count. But in addition to this, a large number of epic and legendary equipment, as well as the dream fragments obtained during the period, are all accumulated in the reward pool. This is too outrageous. This is too outrageous. From the 1st to the 10th level, I got a total of 4 dream fragments, which is equivalent to 0. So 4 dream stones. There are also 6 epic loot and 2 legendary loot. If the accumulated rewards of more than 47 million people are added together, how much will it be in total? Qin Feng can hardly imagine it. If calculated based on Qin Feng's gains, these rewards add up to nearly 2 million dreamstones. You know, this is the internal currency of the Dream Temple. Qin Feng killed a mythical Ba, and only got one after searching. 2 million directly. In addition, the number of epic and legendary loot may exceed 100 million. Among them, equipment is not very useful. But what about skill books? Qin Feng can collect all epic and legendary skill books at one time, and there are some platinum, jade, and diamond level things. Although Qin Feng did not get much, the 47 million rewards added together are already inestimable wealth. This is too exaggerated, even if it is enough to support a civilization, right? But the prerequisite for all this is to pass the challenge of the 20th floor. From ancient times to the present, no one has ever passed the challenge. Among these more than 47 million people, there are probably many proud sons of heaven who entered this Starry Sky Gate with the determination to pass the level, but they all failed in the end. Qin Feng then looked at the second note. This note is about compensation rewards. Since the first rule takes out the accumulated rewards of the Ancient God Slate, if you can pass the challenge of the 20th level, you will be given an extra special Ancient God Slate, which is the God-chosen slate. This term, the God-chosen slate, is the first time Qin Feng has heard of it. The effect of this kind of slate is that it can wash out 3 gain attributes at one time, and there are no negative entries. Of course, this kind of God-chosen slate will also have some inherent defects, but the tip says that if you pass the challenge of the 20th level, you will get the Dream Small Authority, which can eliminate the defects of the God-chosen slate. Good guy. Even the words used in the notes here are small authorities. No wonder the Land of Order calls the Servant Seal a small authority. Really good at fooling people. Qin Feng laughed. Finally, there is the third note, which states that if the challenge fails, the player will be sent back to the entrance of the Well of Dreams and will experience a decline in mental attributes for several days. Qin Feng glanced at this and skipped it. After all, he came here to succeed in the challenge, failed the challenge. Let's talk about it after he fails first. Anyway, it's just a decline in mental attributes for a few days, so it won't have much of an impact. At this moment, Qin Feng was eager to try, but just before he was about to enter, Ling Qi flew out of him, gathered into an ice blue light ball, and said coldly, "I can't enter this place, but I know the rules. You are now level 40. After entering, you will see a level 40 afterimage of the Misty Dream God. Please focus your attention on the edge of the body of the Misty Dream God afterimage. The edge of his body will be composed of a certain number of 3-dimensional patterns. The higher the level of the Misty Dream God afterimage, the larger the body size and the more patterns. You need to remember all the 3-dimensional patterns and then enter a maze. In the maze, there will be many afterimages of the Misty Dream God. The edge of each afterimage is composed of the same number of 3-dimensional patterns, but the patterns are different. You need to find the same afterimage of the Misty Dream God that you saw when you entered, and then use the props found in the maze to destroy it. There are some other rules and regulations. For example, in the maze, there is a time limit for action. Initially, there is only 1 hour and 24 minutes, but if certain conditions are met in the maze, the time limit can be extended. Another example is that the afterimages of the Dream Gods are invincible and can only be destroyed using the props found in the maze. In addition, even the terrain of the maze changes in real time. Only if you find the same one within the specified time, you can the afterimage of the Dream God, destroy it. And the challenge is successful, and I am now level 40. The afterimage of the dream god will have 160 three-dimensional patterns just listening to the rules. Qin Feng already felt a headache. With this difficulty and time limit, it is no wonder that more than 40 million people have failed the challenge. Anyway, let's go in and take a look. Qin Feng originally wanted to ask Ling Che if he could tell him what those three-dimensional patterns look like. As a result, the Frost Elf said that these patterns are completely different every time they enter, and there is no pattern to follow. Qin Feng can only give up. It seems that there is no way to cheat. Anyway, let's go in and take a look. With my current memory, it is not a problem to remember 160 patterns. If it is a three-dimensional pattern, it depends on how complicated it is. This reminds Qin Feng of the ancient divine language. Isn't the ancient divine language also a three-dimensional pattern? He has learned most of the false language of the ancient divine language, and has begun to master the rules of the true language of the ancient divine language. Then remembering these patterns should have some advantages, right? The Starry Sky Gate opened. A starry sky shining with white light appeared behind the gate. The death wings behind Qin Feng flapped and took him into the Starry Sky Gate, and then the area around him turned completely white. In front of him, a huge existence appeared. It was a 10-meter tall humanoid creature emitting white light, with light blue spots all over his body, dotted all over his body. And behind him, there were two pairs of colorful wings like butterfly wings. Is this the afterimage of the dream god? It's actually the butterfly girl. Qin Feng was a little shocked. When he saw the afterimage, his mind went completely blank. He looked at the head of the huge humanoid creature with butterfly wings and found that it was completely covered by colorful light. He couldn't see whether it was a human head or a butterfly head. But the reason why we know it is a female is because of her physical characteristics, which are quite obvious. Of course, it is also possible that the race of the dream goddess Lutas may have some hermaphroditic characteristics, but these are not important. The important thing is, in Qin Feng's sight, he did see the huge afterimage in front of him, and the edge was composed of complex three-dimensional patterns. Oh my god, so complicated. When Qin Feng saw those three-dimensional patterns, his scalp was numb. If we use Daxia Chinese characters as an analogy, then among Daxia Chinese characters, the more strokes a character has, the more complicated it is. For example, etc. But even the characters with the most strokes have only more than 30 strokes. At this moment, the three-dimensional patterns that appeared in front of Qin Feng were not only three-dimensional, but also spatial, and had at least hundreds of strokes. Each pattern was intricate and winding. Together, they formed the edge of the body of the dreamlike afterimage. The most terrifying thing was that those three-dimensional patterns were actually flowing as the patterns flowed. When those patterns were in different positions, the feeling would be completely different depending on the angle of viewing. Isn't this too outrageous? Qin Feng was stunned. Fortunately, Qin Feng soon discovered that the structure of these three-dimensional patterns is similar to some of the structures of the ancient divine language. Although each one is unique, it is also derived from the basic structure of the ancient divine language. From the perspective of the ancient divine language, it seems to be easier to remember. Qin Feng sighed. Ashasis was right to ask him to learn the ancient divine language. So far, it has been used many times. At this time, Qin Feng memorized the 160 patterns at the fastest speed. 1, 2, 3. Fortunately, this process still leaves enough preparation time for the player, but if there is no Ling Che's reminder, I may not be able to understand and remember these patterns. Although the Frost Elf was not optimistic about Qin Feng's trip, it did give Qin Feng a lot of help, which made Qin Feng very grateful. I just don't know if it has any favorite rewards as a natural disaster elf. After more than 3 minutes, Qin Feng has stored 160 three-dimensional patterns in his mind. With his current spiritual attributes, memory and thinking speed, they are completely beyond the imagination of ordinary people. However, the memory of these three-dimensional patterns is fixed in Qin Feng's mind. Once it flows, Qin Feng finds that he can't remember it. At this moment, a white light exploded in front of Qin Feng's eyes, and after a loud bang, the afterimage of the dream god in front of him disappeared. What appeared in front of him was a white jade building. This building made Qin Feng a little familiar. Isn't it similar to the white jade maze in his judgment place? However, the area of the judgment place is relatively small. The maze in this place, it is extremely huge. Qin Feng's shadow perception spread out in all directions, and he instantly felt hundreds of butterfly dream god afterimages that were also more than 10 meters tall. Those afterimages, the three-dimensional patterns on each edge look very similar, but there are subtle differences. Qin Feng only sensed the shadow, and his scalp went numb. When his perception spread to the distance, he cried out that it was abnormal. This maze is hundreds of kilometers away. There are at least hundreds of thousands of afterimages of the illusionary gods in here. To find one that is the same as the one just now, isn't it like looking for a needle in a haystack? The most terrible thing is, just now, Kinfeng remembered 160 patterns, but now that he feels so many illusionary gods after images around him, he feels that the memory of those patterns seems to be a little fuzzy. Just then, Kinfeng heard the system prompt. He was affected by the mental skills, and his psychedelic favor skill effect was automatically triggered and made his mind clear. Good guy. The mental skills here are to interfere with memory. Kinfeng was completely convinced. The difficulty of this challenge? It's much more difficult than fighting monsters or surviving in general. If Qinfeng didn't have a trick up his sleeve, he would have doubted whether this kind of challenge was really prepared for players who had just reincarnated for less than a year. Not bad. The current memory interference intensity is not too high. I can still remember those patterns. But the memory interference intensity around me will probably get higher and higher. I don't know how long I can last with my current mental attributes, Qinfeng thought to himself. Time was running out, and he didn't waste any time. He quickly began to use the Umbra perception to check the residual images of the misty dream god in the maze. 1, 2, 3. Due to the existence of Umbra perception, Qinfeng's search speed was extremely fast. Moreover, although this white jade maze was huge, it is large, capped, and cannot fly. But Qinfeng's shadow perception is a special perception that can completely penetrate walls and can find the route to a certain place in the maze at the fastest speed. The key now is to find the after image of the dream god with the same pattern. This more than an hour, I'm afraid it's not enough. Qinfeng was a little surprised. While searching for the after image of the dream god, he was also looking for some mechanisms and special rooms in the maze. After all, if you want to destroy the after image of the dream god, you can only use the special props found in the maze. This is simple. Qinfeng quickly found a short blade hanging on the white jade wall in a nearby room. Can I go through the wall from here? Qinfeng tried it and found that he couldn't go through the wall. The wall of this white jade maze is similar to the wall of the Judgment Place. It is an absolute space barrier that can block all means of wall penetration. I can only take a detour. Fortunately, Qinfeng is very fast now, especially when he passed a certain afterimage of the dream god. He found that this thing was actually regarded as a hostile target, allowing him to maintain double speed for a period of time. The sublimation scroll of the ghost spirit is a great help. Qinfeng quickly went to the room and took the short blade in his hand. He found that when he arrived at this white jade maze space, the frost elf was indeed unable to follow him. But the white bud, as a weapon, was still with Qinfeng. Qinfeng did not communicate with this woman. In this environment, the white bud may not be able to help. The barrier-breaking blade, a one-time use item, can destroy the afterimage of the dream god on the 20th floor of the dream well. Qinfeng put away the props and continued to radiate the perception of the shadow. He is not only comparing the three-dimensional pattern on the edge of the afterimage, but also looking for patterns. The shadows of the dream gods around seemed to be flying and moving along a certain route. There was at least a kilometer between each big butterfly. Hey, this one's pattern is very similar. Wait, I can't remember the details clearly. Qinfeng suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. He found his memory, which was originally quite clear, really began to disappear. It's so early. You have to use your best tricks. Qinfeng was a little puzzled. Originally, I wanted to save some divinity, but now it seems the memory interference in this place is very serious. When Qinfeng realized that his memory of the pattern began to blur, he quickly took out the judgment blade. This is his best tricks. Elderly people from Blue Star know that a good memory is not as good as a bad pen, so how could Qinfeng come in without any preparation? Of course, this preparation is really impossible for ordinary people, because when the player first enters the Starry Sky Gate and observes the afterimage of the dream god, he cannot move at all, cannot summon any summoned creatures, and cannot release any skills. It is impossible to record all the three-dimensional patterns. However, Qinfeng, while recording those three-dimensional patterns, transmitted part of his consciousness back to the Land of Judgment. On the 20th floor of the Dreamwell, Qinfeng was observing the pattern on the edge of the afterimage. In the Land of Judgment, Qinfeng manipulated the white jade wall of the white jade labyrinth and directly placed a huge human-shaped butterfly frame in the entire Land of Judgment. That frame is composed of 160 three-dimensional patterns. Because it is a pure consciousness behavior, this behavior cannot be prohibited, and Qinfeng's mind moves at will, and he can control everything in the Land of Judgment with ease. As long as you consume divinity, you can do it. In order to get the reward, Qinfeng fought directly just to copy those 160 patterns. Qinfeng spent more than 200 divinity. Among them, more than 500 are from the Blade of Judgment, and more than 700 are from the Blade of White Bud. So the total lifespan is equivalent to more than 16,000 years. And this is not the big part. What bothers Qinfeng the most is every time his consciousness returns to the Land of Judgment, for comparison, it consumes 10 points of divinity, and in the 20th level maze of the Well of Dreams where he is, there are countless afterimages of the Dream God. Now, it is not just a matter of divinity consumption, it is also the time limit for this challenge is only more than an hour at the beginning. Although there is a way to increase the time, the opportunity is very rare, and the effect of each increase in time will decay. If you use it to the maximum, you can stay here for more than 2 hours at most. This dream god, is he stupid? Such a difficult challenge. I have turned on the cheat, and there is still a time limit. Who can pass it? King Feng has deep doubts. This challenge is not set up for people to pass, or is this challenge just to filter out players who meet certain conditions?